Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. We've got a big one in the ACC. We've got NC State. They're traveling to South Bend to battle the Irish, playing Notre Dame. This is going to be Chris's best bet. I'm going to go to you first, Ralph. And I got to say, I got to put up the old fat and sassy alert on Notre Dame. If there was ever a team ready to be ripe for a letdown, it's got to be Notre Dame after that shellacking that they had on USC last week.
You know, again, a situation, our first video, where one team had a huge nationally televised game and the other team was off a bye. And again, we get an overreaction from the team, you know, that played on TV. And that's just what the public does. But, you know, I look at Notre Dame, and when Wimbush is behind center, he needs to run the ball for them to be effective, and he runs it very, very well. The only time Notre Dame's rush attack has been stopped this year was against Georgia. They had 55 yards, and they had 1.5 yard per carry in that game. Well, let me tell you, NC State's rush D is number 6. They're only allowing 3.0 yards per carry. Ryan Finley is an incredibly successful quarterback, 313 attempts for NC State without an interception this year. And oh yeah, by the way, NC State off a bye, they're 13-0 against the spread with rest as a dog when they had a week off to prepare for their team.
Yeah, full disclosure for me, I had a good week last week, great week, but I'll be honest, I was dead wrong on this one last week. I was on USC. I thought they could trade points with Notre Dame. I'll take my lumps and move on, but you know, this Notre Dame team, they took advantage of a depleted USC team. USC couldn't get anything going offensively with the injuries that they had, and Notre Dame manhandled them at the point of attack. Can they do that this week against an NC State team that's played very well and should not be intimidated going to South Bend, already having wins on their card this year against Florida State and against Louisville?
Well, you're exactly right. You know, they're on a roll. They're in a 6-0 straight-up win run. And as you mentioned, North Carolina State does really well against the spread after byes. And I'll one-up that. Doran, statistically, with all the teams that he's coached, is 12-1 himself after the bye. So he knows how to use the bye. He came from the MAC conference and was sought after, and I think after this season, somebody's going to want to steal him away from NC State. He's got this team firing on all cylinders now. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this. I like how they played one extra bowl team that Notre Dame has played. Notre Dame's played 3 bowl teams. North Carolina State has played 4+. They have a slightly higher strength of schedule. As you mentioned, they're only giving up 3 yards per rush, and they're number 6 in the nation against the rush. I also think that the letdown factor could be in mind there. I think that they know they have to show up, but can they be fully focused after trouncing USC? That's a huge rivalry game for them. There has to be some sort of loss of focus, I would think. I also think this coach is going to prepare a few trick plays. I think he's going to have some things up his sleeves that that Notre Dame is not going to be prepared for, and I look for them to be able to take advantage of that a few times. So I like North Carolina State plus the points.
Ralph, this is one of those rare instances in college football. There's not many like this, that even though this is a conference game, last week's game was actually a bigger game for Notre Dame out of conference because of the USC rivalry that they have. They've played that rivalry forever. And I look at NC State. You mentioned they've rolled off 6 wins in a row. This team should be 7-0 right now. NC State should be undefeated. I still can't figure out how they lost opening week to South Carolina. And you go back and you look at that game, North Carolina State outgained them 504 yards to 248, yet somehow lost the game by 7 points. This is a team, they win this game. NC State, you've got to start talking about them and putting them in a conversation as well for if they can run the table of possibly being in the national championship playoff picture.
Well, with the one loss and being a non-conference loss, they control their own destiny. Now, the Notre Dame game doesn't count as a conference play. I mean, they're conference in all the other sports. But, you know, the ACC teams, it was big for them to get Notre Dame in. I think Notre Dame's game against USC was bigger for them last week, like you said.
All right, there you go, guys. Cris says to go ahead and take NC State plus the points. Looks like we're all in agreement on that one. Take NC State plus the points over Notre Dame. And in honor of Notre Dame this week and their big win over USC and beating me last week, we're going to make a coupon code this week. You can save $10 on any package. We're going to make it Irish 10. That's the Irish, and the number 10 will get you $10 off any package this week at WagerTalk.com. We'll be back with more at WagerTalk.